Okay, hi everybody, welcome. We are with Maya Thomas here, and
Hello.
I do want to preface it, let everybody know that Maya is actually in New York right now, while the whole world is going through this terrible pandemic. Maya, I guess if you want to just maybe let everybody know what it's like up there right now for you before we get into. I don't want to talk about bad things and that kind of stuff, but because these are supposed to be good interviews. But
Definitely. I mean, it's definitely it's definitely crazy walking out onto the streets of New York and not seeing thousands of people every day because that's just what I'm used to. You know, I walk from here to there all the time. My job is in a hub of people, so I'm very much used to seeing people. But it's interesting because it's kind of bittersweet because you know what's going on and you know why there's nobody on the streets, but at the same time, it's it's nice to see everybody rallying and being like, no, we're not on the streets because this isn't just something that we can kind of glaze over and look past. Like it's very much in our backyards and in our neighborhoods. And there are so many people that are on the front lines that are fighting for us who don't really have the choice to do anything but. And I think that it's really important um, that we take the steps to protect everybody else in the way that they are so selflessly protecting us. And so to see, the streets be significantly more empty than they are, it is sad because we've had to come to this point, but it's beautiful because it shows that there are so many more people that are kind of putting themselves on the back burner and just being like, this is for the greater good of everybody, not just me. It's like every party can be rescheduled, every this can be rescheduled, your life can't. And so it's nice to see everybody taking it seriously and not just treating it as a joke.
well, thanks for that. Just real quick, where are you living? Where are you?
Currently I am in Manhattan. I am usually stationed in Brooklyn, but for this whole thing, I am in Manhattan with my boyfriend currently.
Okay, and then so Maya, I want to have a little problem with the screen. I hope that's not a problem in the recording. Um, Maya, so I want to talk to you about your how you got there. You're from Easton, um, and Maya now is in was in a Broadway was in the Harry Potter Broadway play. What's the name of the play, Maya?
It's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
And the Cursed Child, and it's a really interesting. She just got the role, and then the virus, hit. So it's going to be really interesting to see how all that took place. But Maya, I first wanted to ask you, like, you came from Easton. Can you tell people at Easton who may be watching this for the first, time getting to know you or whatever, or even your friends, you say hi to anybody who you want to, whatever that sort of thing. How did you get where through Easton? How did you get where you are now?
Yeah. Well, first off, I want to give a shout out to E-Town because that's home. That's where I'm from. It will always be home. So hello to everybody back home. I miss you. I love you, and I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. But yes, so my story and how I got to the city. I lived in Easton for 18 years of my life, and I was very much involved in the theater scene and the art scene, music scene, down in Easton. And I kind of carried that with me through my high school years and really started to delve into the idea of it being my career path. Because I knew from a very young age that this was what I wanted to do per se. But obviously when you start to get into high school and all the social pressures and like, that's not a job, you got to do this, you got to make money. And then you get in your own head. I got in my own head. And I started to kind of make excuses for why this wouldn't be like a feasible career path or choice. And I'm very happy I broke out of that mindset. And it was the
how did you break out of that mindset?
Yeah, I think it was just because, okay, so I had a backup plan. I wanted to do forensic psychology and behavioral analysis. So like if you've seen the show Criminal Minds, that, but real life, that was what my other thing was. And I let myself sit on it for a while. And my senior year at Easton High School, I was Morticia Addams in the Addams Family. That was my senior show.
Uh-huh.
And in that entire process, I realized just how important the theater was to me, and how it really created a place of solace and belonging and all of that, which was beautiful. Um, is your thing making a noise?
I don't know what that is.
Did it stop? It stopped.
It stopped.
Okay, it stopped. But in doing that show, and having the support of my mother, Mr. and Mrs. Vitanovic, who were the directors at Easton High School of the theater program at the time, and one of their friends, Brian, who came down to help us with the show. He is a professional actor in the theater world. They all kind of sat me down at one point and looked at me and were like, why aren't you applying to theater schools? Like, why is that? What's going on? And I was like, I don't know if this is like the right thing. I don't know if this is what I should be doing. I need to make money. This isn't guaranteed, whatever. And they all just kind of looked at me and they were like, you have been cultivating this like performance aspect of yourself since you were young, and you don't want to do anything with that. Like, you've fought to be noticed for that. Why wouldn't you want to? And I looked at them and I was like, you guys have a point. And something in my head just kind of clicked, and I was like, no, I will not be happy if I'm not doing this. And happiness to me is one of the biggest things. Like, if I'm not happy, then what's the point? Because I could go 9 to 5 at a desk job and be the most miserable person ever, or I could be auditioning at 5 a.m. for 5 days a week and know that I'm happy inside because I'm fighting for the thing that I love. And so that was kind of my driving force to be like, no, this is it. Art school is what it's got to be. So I decided that I was going to apply to 4. And I ended up getting into NYU, to School of the Arts, new studio on Broadway for musical theater, which was phenomenal. But then, of course, came the barrier of money and how do we get there and such. And I grew up in a single parent household. My dad passed when I was very young, and my mom and I are not the richest people on the planet. And for NYU to be a school that's upwards $80,000 a year is not something to sneeze at for us. And it was like kind of, it felt like there just like a dagger kind of went in my heart for a second, because I was like, I fought so hard to be accepted for the thing that I'm doing, and I got accepted, and now I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do it.
I remember that.
Oh yeah, I came to you, I was talking to everybody. I was like, what do I do? Like, this is ridiculous. And then it got to a point where my mom sat me down, and she looked me in the eye and told me that she wanted to sell my childhood home, the home that I had grown up for 18 years, in order to send me to school. And I owe my life to this woman. She is everything to me, and I love her so much. And like, without her, like, I'm even gonna cry talking about it, but like, without her doing that, I would not be where I am today. Like, yeah. She is the most selfless person that I have ever met. She has sacrificed everything for me to be here, and it's ridiculous. And so now that I am up here, and I went to, unfortunately, the financial situation, it gets a little iffy, and I did end up having to take a year off of school. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go back. I'm still not sure. But after I declared that year off, a month later, I got the call that I would be in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child on Broadway. And I screamed, and I threw my phone, and I started breaking down crying, because I knew that in doing that, I could say that I fought for the thing that I wanted. I fought for the thing that I loved. And now I can give back to my mom, who fought for me to be able to have it.
That's awesome, Maya. I mean, that's a wonderful, wonderful story. And I'm glad that I was able to use Zoom to call you, and you have time now, because I know if you were, the show is postponed at this point, so you wouldn't have time, and you're so busy up there in New York. So I wanted to, but it's just a great, great story. And your mom does it. She is, people who don't know, she's an incredibly sweet, kind, gentle, unassuming woman, and just a wonderful, wonderful person. So, I remember talking to her, and I was like, I said, if it's going to happen for anybody, it's going to happen for Maya, because you have a lot of talent. So but she never knew that. She didn't, she was, it's just an awesome story, awesome story. So anyway, so you get out of Easton and you go to NYU, and I was good. So you had to stop school.
Yes, I did. I went to NYU for 2 years. I finished my primary training. And then, unfortunately, at the end of my sophomore year, I did have to declare, because my idea was that I was going to take the year off just to work and to save, and hopefully at the end of that year I would have enough money to cover partial tuition or cover tuition somewhere, like just like in the ether. I was like, I'm going to save so I can go to school wherever that may be. And then after I realized that was what I had to do, like I really started diving into the auditions more, just because I was
Did
like,
you get an agent? Did you get an agent?
I do, yes. I got an agent.
Did you get one? Did you have one when you were in school?
I did. I got mine at the end of my my sophomore year, because we have these things called sophomore projects. So there are 4 of them at the end of sophomore year. It's like your first big NYU performance, unless you get cast in a main stage at the beginning of your sophomore year. And my agent just so happened to go and see the project that I was cast in. We did Disaster by Seth Rudetsky, and I was Lavora Verona, the disco diva, whatever, with the afro and the dog. It was so much fun. But he came and saw it, and I got an email about 2 days, I think, after we closed, from him and a manager friend of his who wanted to meet up with me and kind of just discuss possibilities of them repping me, et cetera, et cetera. They sent me some things to film. I filmed some stuff, sent them over, waited about a month, and then I got a call from Benjamin, who was my agent, and he was like, yeah, I want to rep you. And I was like,
Right.
So that was phenomenal. That was,
sure,
that could not happen
at
a time.
I mean, you don't go out looking for agents; they kind of come looking for you, correct?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I feel like if I was still in school, or like a few years from now or whatever, like I feel like if by like my senior year I didn't have one, I would probably start doing a little like digging and snooping. But I feel like when I was in school, me looking for one wasn't necessarily my biggest, because I was so focused on making sure I got the most out of my training and this and that and taking care of myself. And so this kind of just
when you went up there, Maya, went to school. So, you were a big fish in a small pond here, and then you sort of go up to NYU and you see, wow, everybody's good. They're all, it's not just people who are doing it for a credit in high school or want to have fun in high school. These people, what was that like? Was that intimidating to you, or was that exciting to you, or?
Was honestly, I mean, it was intimidating at first, just because like when you don't know everybody, like literally on the first day of school, one of our first classes was, hey, okay, we're all gonna sit in a line and we're all just gonna sing for each other. And of course everybody, it's like your first song, so everybody's trying to belt their face off and do this and that and do their acrobatics and all their runs and all this, and you're just sitting there and you're like, okay, okay. But afterwards, like, you just kind of realize everybody's just people. Like we were all big fish in small ponds. That was how we started. And now to be in a room, when I was in a room with all of those insanely talented and dedicated individuals, it was more so inspiring, just because I didn't feel like, after a while at least, I didn't feel like people were singing to compete or doing this to compete. It was very much everybody was focused on bettering themselves and their artistry and their artist, while also showing support for everybody else, which was really nice. Because I feel like so often, in being a woman in this field, being a woman of color in this field, so much of it is about competition. And so to be able to enter a room and it not be about that, and just to be about bettering myself from where I stand, rather than looking at somebody else and being like, they can do this, I have to do this. Like, one of my favorite things that one of my acting teachers said at one point when I was in school was, we don't need another Meryl Streep. We have her.
Exactly.
Like, and when he said that, I was like, wow, you're right. Like, so often I feel like we get caught up in comparing ourselves. Like, I need to be as good an actress as her or him, or I need to be as good of a singer as that person over there. But in reality, what we can bring to the table is so much more special than trying to bring your like half-cooked version of what somebody else can do, you know?
Okay, well that's great. So I'm going to segue right into this then off of that, Maya. So what do you bring to Harry Potter when you're up on the stage? You know, I mean, I want to talk about how you got that job, and I don't know. So we only got a few minutes left to do this.
Yeah,
But what are you bringing to that? What are you bringing when you're up there?
of course. Well, I am just so that you like know what my role is and everything.
Sure.
I'm an on-stage swing, so I have my swing track, and then I cover 5 other roles. So I am me, my track, all 3 female ensemble tracks. I cover Rose Granger Weasley, which is Hermione's daughter, and Polly Chapman, who is another one of the students.
Okay, what's a track? What's a track? Is that the role?
A track is, so basically your track is all of the roles that you cover in your little corner of the show. So
Okay.
my track is like, the name is like female ensemble, like I think it's because there's already like 3 and then there's 3 guys, it's like I'm like 6 or something, but that's just because how the numbers work. So that's the name of my track, but then my track entails 6 different roles.
Gotcha. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes. In going through the whole process and learning about these characters, and also in auditions, but then also in the room, I feel like just the fact that when I walk into that room, I try very much to bring a youthful and jovial energy. And I feel like I try to do that wherever I go, just something warm and open and receptive to everything that's going on, just because it's very important, being an actor, to be able to listen to everything that's going on in the room, whether that be in your scene or outside of a scene, when you're talking to your director, you're talking to your movement, whatever. It's just very important to be a good listener and to hear the people around you. And I try very hard to do that. This show is very much built like a musical without actually being a musical, simply because the transitions are very musical-like, and there are dance sequences that we call movement, but it can be looked at as a dance, if you will. And I do have a dance background. I've been dancing since I want to say like 8 or 9.
Right.
And so I'm definitely able to bring that element into the room, on top of the acting stuff that I do, which I think is awesome. And I love the idea that you can meld acting and dancing, or acting and singing and all that stuff. So to be able to do all of it in what's considered a straight play is really cool. You know, I just feel like, and this goes for everybody in the cast, really, I feel like everybody just brings a lot of dedication and fun. And because like there will be moments where we're not doing anything and everybody is cracking up, like crying, laughing, like everybody's the biggest goofball that I've ever met. But as soon as Jimmy, our director, is like, all right, we're back, let's go, we're like it's phenomenal. And I've been in a room with dedicated people before, but I have never seen anything like this. Like in the 8 weeks that we got to work, because we did literally, like, we ended tech and then everything shut down. Like, we were in the middle of our last tech rehearsal and they were like, hey, can we have everybody to the stage for a meeting? And we were like, okay. But
so
it was ridiculous. It was insane. And I was like, bro. But everybody was like, even so, everybody, up until that moment, we worked like such a well-oiled machine, because everybody was so on top of it. And I was just like, this is beautiful. Like, I loved it.
Well, I actually want to ask you another favor here. I'm not going to make these things too long, these video chats too long. Yeah. And I would like to actually leave it there, but I'd like to leave it like a sort of suspense sort of thing, because I would like to talk to you about like when you found out about the gig, you know, what some more part of what's really interesting. I mean, you know, and this is going to sound stupid when I say this, but I've told zillions of actors and actresses here, like, the same line about Meryl Streep. It's like, they already have Meryl Streep. They don't want Meryl Streep again. They want you know? Yeah. And I think that I want to talk to you about some of those things that you picked up in New York City as well, because I just think that hearing from somebody who's doing it, Maya Thomas from Easton, Maryland, a country school graduate and an Easton high school graduate, would mean so much to these guys. Would you be willing to do another one of these, like maybe later this week, as like part 2 to this thing?
Yeah, of course. Oh my goodness.
Okay, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess.
Are you available tomorrow?
Yeah. I'll give you a call.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow will be great.
Great.
If you want to sign on, do you have anything to tell anybody who's watching? Hey, Easton, what are you?
Yeah, I don't know. Hi, I'm Maya Thomas, and I'm on Broadway. I don't know. Wait, can I plug? Can I like have people follow me?
Yeah.
If you have Instagram and you want to follow all of my antics on stage and off, my handle is @MissMighty_. It's MSMIGHTY with an underscore. Yeah, I'll see you guys there.
I've looked at her Facebook, her Instagram page is great. You got some cool pictures on there, Mike. So you've been doing some modeling or something too, right? Is that what's going on with those?
Yeah, I mean, every now and again, like some of my friends have cameras or they're photographers, so we'll do little shoots every now and again. But
okay, Maya, this is great. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and yeah, no, and I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you some more. We'll leave this to be continued. The Maya Thomas story. Thanks, Maya.
Sounds good. Of course. Thank you, Tim.
See ya.
Bye.